Hey everyone, welcome back or welcome to my channel if you're new here. My name is Lamia and this is my sister Ayaan.
Hello.
And we're running a limited series called Boarding School and Bubble Tea where we just talk about our experiences being pretty much raised in boarding school. And today's episode is going to be a bit triggering to many of us, myself included.
As you may know, we literally lived at school, so everything was done at school, including food. So how it was set up was we would have breakfast at school at about like 6:30, which was normally oatmeal or mealie meal porridge, which is amazing, you guys. Like that's one of the things that I still eat. We would have cornflakes. Yeah, if we were really lucky, we would have honey crunchies, as we actually just remembered yesterday. So that would be breakfast, and then we would have our main meal, which would normally be like toast, one slice of toast, and like boiled egg in these little cute cups.
Yeah, like egg holders.
Yeah, egg holders, that's the word. And then sometimes we would have marmalade jam, you guys know.
It was honestly better than the alternative, which was
Bovril.
Imagine.
Listen, you guys, I don't know how you eat that stuff.
Indeed.
Come on, like, if you eat Bovril, you need to subscribe.
It's the price you must pay.
Yeah. Then at about 10, I think it was 10:30, we would have tea time, snack time,
break time.
That's the one where we would have gwejas. So gwejas are sandwiches. What would be inside?
Usually marmalade and jam. Yeah.
I mean, I eat marmalade now, but I think the one that we were being served was just
not top tier.
You guys know.
I didn't mind it. It had like rind inside, right?
No.
Yeah.
But like they were bitter, like really bitter.
That is true. I remember this too. And the jam, like we weren't getting like bon mama. No. we weren't getting that. We were getting like fruit jam, which honestly wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
But I mean, like if you have it so often, you know.
Sun jam.
We did used to get sun
jam. Oh my days, that was live.
And do you still eat sun jam?
I mean, if I find it, but I'm not sure if we find the OG now.
Like the same one. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they've changed the recipe, but I still eat it as well.
And you guys, you know how Coke, for example, Coke in a glass bottle is elite. Like it does not taste the same as these PET, as the plastic bottles and the cans, right?
Yeah.
I'm so convinced it's the same thing with jam, sun jam. So obviously because it's a boarding school, they needed to buy stuff in bulk.
Right.
So the sun jam came in a massive tin.
Yeah, like a can.
You guys, that was
huge
really tame. Like it's the same WhatsApp group as glass bottle Coke.
With our sandwiches, we'd have like tea. I remember it being tea.
Yeah.
And like the tea was usually cold. It was just standard that it would be like lukewarm to like cold, and that was just how things were. Was it tea? I'm trying to remember. Like I'm trying not to blur the lines between high school and primary school.
Yeah.
It might have been juice if it wasn't tea. And then of course we go into lunch, which I don't know. Yeah, like for me, lunch was my least favorite
Lunch
meal.
wasn't it?
Yeah, lunch never slapped. Like it was usually like roast potatoes, which were drier than the Sahara, and like a really bland chicken or like roast beef that was also drier than the Sahara, and then they would pour like gravy over it. And I remember in my like first year of primary school, so in grade 1, so when I was about like 5 years old, I didn't know what gravy was because we just didn't eat gravy at home. Like, we should also preface this by saying that like the food we were used to from home was like ethnic food, you know, it's like Cape Malay, Indian, like Somali, that kind of cuisine is what we were eating at home. So going to boarding school was just, it was such a culture shock for me. And I remember going home and, you know, trying to tell my mom about gravy. I'm like, Mom, there's this thing, it looks like soup, and it's like a liquid, and they pour it over the meat. And I was like, yeah, that's gravy.
Thick and it's brown.
Right.
Yeah.
And my mom was like, that's gravy. And I was like, no, it's not. Because like my idea of gravy was like tomatoes and onions, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it just really wasn't it. I just remember like having boiled cabbage. To this day, like, ooh, not boiled cabbage.
I think for me, it wasn't so much the taste. It was the smell, you guys. Like, you know, cabbage does not have the best attractive smell. Like it's just so immediately when you walked into the dining hall, you just knew what was for lunch because you would smell it. So it was that, and then we had like I think it was roast beef, but cut into like really thin slices.
Right.
And it was so tough, you guys. Like, indeed. I remember having marks on my fingers because I was holding the cutlery so tight, trying to
saw through it.
Oh my days.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. And I mean, obviously, like, you know, for probably safety purposes, we had like butter knives. Yeah. So, and we weren't really allowed to pick up the food with our fingers. Yeah. After lunch, we'd usually have like fruit as dessert. This was usually things like a quarter banana. Yeah.
You guys, misers. Actual misers. Not a whole banana.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was because we were like little kids, primary school kids, but no, you guys, come on. A whole banana and cut into 3 little small pieces.
Indeed. Yeah, it was like 2 bites.
No, you guys. We would literally peel it and put the whole thing in our mouth because...
We have like oranges.
Yeah.
Oranges was the standard. Oranges and nachos, or clementines if you're from the West. Mandarins. Yeah. Occasionally, and this was really like rarer than a blue moon, we'd have like mangoes if it was mango season, and we'd have watermelon. I remember having watermelon on a few occasions.
I don't. That just sounds too luxurious.
See, we're here to tell the reality of it, because when we say, like, you know, in Europe, when we're traveling and stuff, when we mention that we went to boarding school, I think people are thinking, wow.
Yeah.
Like, I think people think, like, Swiss boarding school, luxurious, very elite, top 1%, whatever. And no, like, I mean, for sure, like, it definitely was a privilege, and I am remarkably, you know, grateful for everything.
So we would have tea time, which was normally fruit again.
Yeah, like
it
oranges.
Would normally be oranges. You guys, I cannot eat oranges today because my body is just like, you've eaten a lifetime supply. You need to stop, you know?
For sure. Like, I think we should also like mention why we always had oranges, and it was honestly because of like proximity. So the school was located not too far away from like a huge, you know, like
orange farm.
Yeah, an orange like orchard, which was just, you know, like nationally acclaimed. So, you know, we were right on their doorstep. So I think they supplied us, and they did so quite well. And I remember the one time we were with our hockey coach, and she had decided to join us for tea and just like have oranges, and somebody was like, you know, what's your favorite fruit? And she was like, I just think we have them too often, but there's nothing like a good orange. And I think all of us, like, our respect for her just like dropped by 5% because we were like, she didn't just say, not an orange.
No, you guys, but she really did love them, hey? Like, I remember watching her eat them. She had a good time.
And then with our oranges, we would, at tea time, we'd have juice. And like, it wasn't giving Mazoe, it wasn't giving Cassis.
No, you guys.
It was
Jolly Just. Like.
it was like a very concentrated, like almost like sickeningly sweet kind of juice that just
it was actually a powder,
right,
where you needed to like do
diluted, like tang, I think.
Yeah, but not tang. It wasn't tang. But yeah, it was a powder that they needed to mix, I think obviously for convenience.
Yeah.
Like, because it was such a big... Okay, it wasn't really a big school, but, you know, so many kids, so many mouths to feed. But no, it wasn't it. But occasionally we had green juice, which slapped, you guys. Like, green juice was really... It was elite. It was one of the times we were like, oh, it's a good time to be alive, you know?
Yeah. And then, of course, for supper was probably my favorite, especially towards the end of my primary school years when I had adjusted to the food.
Yeah.
And it was usually things like paella was a popular one. I think that was on Tuesdays. You know, like their version of paella. I think a Spanish person would be like, what is this? But it was like,
I remember that.
yeah, it was just it was like rice mixed with like vegetables and like pieces of beef. And then they just probably like added like, I don't want to say saffron because I know how expensive saffron is now, and I don't think they would really use saffron.
No.
But basically the rice was yellow, so
Probably like turmeric or
yeah,
something.
something like that. Mashed potatoes to this day, no. And we used to have it with boerewors.
You guys, I cannot, like, I'm slowly learning to eat boerewors now. So boerewors,
Yeah,
what
it's
is
right.
boerewors, right?
Right.
Boerewors is actually, I'm not sure if you get it on other parts of the world. I've seen it in maybe like 1 or 2 places, but it's long.
Like sausages.
It's basically like a really thick sausage that is wrapped into a circle when it's packed.
Right.
So usually in southern Africa, we
Yeah.
put it on the barbecue and the braai,
Yeah.
or they just cook it like sausages.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it, guys, if it's not marinated and, you know, done properly,
Like if there's no spices, basically.
you guys, it's not it. Yeah, like, I can't, I'm very picky with
Yeah.
sausages and boerewors now because
Right.
of
Because of that.
boarding school.
Eesh.
So the reason is actually because when you cut into it, yeah, it's sausage. But
Yeah.
I expect, if I'm putting the sausage into my mouth, like I'm expecting to just chew and not bite onto like
And not
little,
choke. I remember choking.
but like bite onto little sinewy pieces.
Oh my
like,
goodness.
That's it for me. I can't.
Yeah.
And then also the casing of the actual sausage.
That's
oh my
what
days, you
it's
guys!
just- that's
it
what I
just
remember. It was very stringy.
yeah. And sometimes, sometimes if you're cutting into your sausage
Yeah.
and I don't know what would happen, but like you would actually take the meat out of the case, out of the casing, and then you'd just be left with casing. And no,
So
you
what? We're
guys.
all living the same life. Why did we never discuss this prior? I thought it was just me.
Guys.
Like, I remember like towards the end of primary school, we had like this kind of thing. It like, if you can picture like a Danish pastry, but like imagine it just being like dough that's been baked, and like instead of like raisins and stuff on the inside, are you remembering? It was like pieces of meat. And then I think, you know, the main reason why we enjoyed supper so much was because we'd have dessert as well. And dessert went hard, except on a Monday night, because we'd have instant pudding.
You
or
guys,
jelly.
best thing.
No.
Best thing. I loved it so much. It
Or
just, yeah, instant pudding or jelly, like that would be the best. Like I didn't like the green jelly because
And that's the one we'd mainly get, the
no, you
green
guys,
one.
the
And
red one was elite.
yeah, the red jelly, like she made some points. But like I'm just thinking of like sometimes the jelly would like solidify on like on like
The custard.
no, do you know what I mean? Like it would go hard on like the corn, so then it was like eating. It was like I don't know how to explain. I don't know how to describe it, but it was like eating jelly that had hardened. And it only got better like dessert wise throughout the rest of the week. We'd have apple crumble, which was really good. We'd have milk tart, which I think was my favorite. And all of these desserts would come with like custard.
Yeah, and their custard was really nice. I loved the custard.
For sure.
I don't know what it was, but the way the chefs made it, you guys,
Yeah.
thank you so much.
Yeah.
You sorted us out.
They did. And then after our pudding, we'd have like bread, and that would just be on the table. There'd literally be 8 slices, for like 1 slice for every person. And this was my favorite because like I ate it. Like I eat bread, you know. Like there was no twists with that. It was just bread.
What could we put on the bread?
So we had like on our tables, as like we'll get to the table setup. We had like little tubs of like butter. So we'd have, and it wasn't really butter. It wasn't giving.
It was margarine, you guys.
It was mud. So we'd have margarine, and then we also had sunjam on our tables, and yeah, we would basically get to have sunjam. This is a really nice point to segue into like dining room etiquette. And basically with this bread, we weren't just allowed to like pick the slice up and act like we're on, the streets of Paris eating a lovely baguette. No, we had to cut that bread into quarters. So, it literally had to be in 4 parts. Like, if you were caught eating it any other way, like, even if it was in a half, like...
Detention.
You'd be reprimanded in front of everybody. So that wasn't the vibe.
So we were on a table of 8, including ourselves. It was usually mixed boys and girls, and usually different ages also.
Yeah.
So you would have like grade 5s, grade 6s, grade 7s on one table.
Right. So there was like 3 people on either side of the table. So 3 people here, 3 people here, and then the head of the table, which was usually the grade 7, or the monitor, the table monitor, and then whoever was, at the bottom. It didn't really signify that, you meant anything, that you were inferior or anything. It just meant that's where you were seated.
I disagree. Like, you know how kids are. So I remember, like, if obviously if you're head of table, you're elite, like you're top, right? 7. But if you sat next to the head of table, like those 2 little chairs next to the head of table, guys, popular kid, like you were top.
Yeah.
And then
that is true.
I don't believe there was bullying on the table, but it could have seemed that way. Like if you were sitting at the bottom of the table, I don't think,
you were just out of the action, really. Like, I can testify to that because I think I went most of my life at the bottom of the table. And then finally when I, made it up to the top, like we had good times. Because like you're the person they talk to the most, We'd have like a dining room table and this would usually be like white or like navy blue, which were our school colors. And sometimes like a faded blue, but Ayaan just told me that's just because it had been to the wash too many times. Here I am thinking it's a different shade of blue.
I swear, like even our school shorts, so they were navy blue. Mine actually turned like a purplish color. Yeah. I'm not sure if because the colors ran or something, but it would eventually be purple.
That's so true. I'm just thinking of like grade 1s. You could always tell that they were new kids if their shorts were like navy blue.
And they were drowning in them. Like,
like
that's
sleeves
true. Came up too.
And then we'd have like a little white box on in the center of our table as like the centerpiece, if you will.
This box, you guys.
The things in this Pandora box. So we'd basically have serviettes in there that would get washed every weekend while we were away, and then when we got back to school, everything would be like new and clean and stuff.
Serviettes or napkins.
Yeah.
For the other siders of the world.
Right. My friends always think I'm being really bougie when I call them serviettes. But anyway, we'd have serviettes in here. Obviously there'd be 8, one for every person. And now you're probably thinking to yourself, how would you remember which one was your serviette?
Guys, everything was thought of.
Everything.
We had serviette rings.
Like, I'll leave a picture because I know y'all need to know.
But there was a thing to the serviette rings, yeah. So as I said, the head of the table was elite, right? And then the 2 little head of table pets were on the side. So everyone would have to choose which serviette ring they wanted for the week. And all the serviette rings were they obviously weren't the same. They were like, there was a red one, there was a blue one, which was like a little bit, not transparent, but like it was see-through and it had like little glitter specks.
Sometimes, yes.
Yeah, the red one also, and then there were the others like orange and yellow.
No, those were not elite.
So you would literally need to like fight and choose which one was yours. And obviously if you had like the blue one, the pops for you.
So true. So we used to fight for that thing. Like, even sometimes it would happen that your table had 2 of those blue transparent serviette rings, and like you'd think that if there were 2, you'd be like, actually no, I won't have it because then I could potentially use somebody else's serviette and that's a bit gross. But no, didn't matter. People were making plans like, okay, I'll fold it in this way, I'll leave this thing tucked in so we know it's mine.
With it.
Like for that blue serviette ring, it meant war. Oh, and with these serviettes, we weren't allowed to like tie them, like a bib.
On your neck? No.
They were supposed to just be on your lap.
So when we would sit down for our dinner or our meal, we would obviously take our serviettes out and put our little ring.
Right.
I think it had to be on the right side. I'm not sure.
Yep.
Like it couldn't just be anywhere. It needed to be on the right side, right next to your spoon, which is at the top of your plate. So it was spoon,
and make sure that the
Knife.
actual of the spoon is facing the left.
It needed to face a specific way.
Yep.
And then the knife on the right side, and then the fork on the left side.
And do you know, this is something that to this day, like, it is my biggest pet peeve. Let me find out that your knife is on the right, which, okay, 50% of points to you. Let me find out that your knife is facing this way, like the serrated side
blade.
is that. No, why
It
is it?
needs to
It needs to
face
face
the
this side.
Yeah. I remember, so going into boarding school as this little tot, starting, and like at home, like you're taught etiquette and stuff, but not like you are at school.
Yeah, because I mean, you're so young. Like at 4
Yeah.
years old, I don't think my mom was going to be, involved in telling me, you need to start with this fork when you.
Exactly. You're basically just learning how to even hold the cutlery,
Yes,
right?
yeah.
So I remember going to grade 1, and now they're telling me that no, you can't hold your fork in your right hand. It needs to be in your left hand.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm not left-handed. Like, why would I put it in my left hand? But slowly you learn, and now I can't actually switch. Like, I can't use the fork in my right hand.
Mm-hmm.
And like, obviously, throughout the meal, you couldn't stand up. Like, stand up for what?
Yeah.
You need to sit down the entire meal.
Yeah.
The only person who needs to stand up is the head of table.
Yeah.
So I think there's just so many things that were like instilled in us, and now we're like, when we see it happening, we're like,
what is going on?
did you not go to boarding school?
Who raised you guys? Yeah.
I think for the most part, it's been I think that was a good thing.
Yeah, the table etiquette side of things. Yeah, for sure. And then, of course, like the dining room. So at primary school and boarding school, we would have, in that dining room, it was huge. It was almost like the size of a school hall. And we had about 22 tables. So there was a lot of tables with, 8 people each. And it would get really noisy. And I remember this, members of staff, they just used to hate our noise levels. And yeah, they got smart, and they were like, what do kids love? Incentive. I guess everybody loves incentives. But yeah, basically there was this little trophy looking thing. Like, it was like a stallion. So it was like a man on a horse.
The stallion, you guys. The golden
The
stallion.
golden stallion. That was what it was called, yeah. And so they kind of like, made a little competition out of it, and they were like, the quietest table gets this every week. So yeah, that had even the coolest of heads of tables, switching up.
Yeah, let me just tell you, like, this showed some different sides of people, like different breed, bro. Like people would change. The talkative people, the most talkative people, would now be telling him, shh, fingers on your lips, fingers on your lips.
So unfortunately, I was never part of the table that received that golden stallion. We really were on our best behavior. We tried, we did, but never.
Yeah, I think I probably once or twice. I'm not sure. Maybe once.
Well, lucky you, because like if you won the stallion, you got to put it on your box, and like you pretty much stack it on top of everything so that everyone knew.
Yeah, like everyone would know that
stallion.
your table is top of the pops, you guys.
You're probably thinking, was there ever like an exception? Was there, on your birthday, could you get like a fancy meal? Were you getting some raviolis, some ceviche?
Who do you think you is?
Some caviar maybe? No, not really, but there were like a few days, like the Christmas party was something we all looked forward to all the time, because not only could we wear like civilian clothing, but we had like, they'd
Spice it up a little bit.
They would, yeah. It would be like a little Christmas dinner with like, I just remember, I don't think we had turkey. We had like chicken and stuff.
So wait, let us just mention, we weren't actually at school for Christmas Day.
Yes.
But just before, like our last term, our third term would normally be from about September to December, like early December.
Right.
So obviously before we went home for the longest holiday, we would celebrate at school with our friends and with our teachers and stuff. And this is where the teachers now started being like little marshmallows. Like they were so sweet, you guys.
I have such fun memories of the Christmas dinner. And like
were.
Dessert was usually like, they knew what our favorite desserts were. So we'd have like apple crumble. They knew how much we loved that. And I think I remember us having cake at the end of the night after dessert, like just for something extra. Like they really, I just have such fun memories of primary school, like that school just, I don't think it's hyperbolic to say that school really made me as a person. I don't know if you agree.
No, I do.
And then of course we also had another like fancy dinner called Top Guns, and this was honestly for it was like an academic excellence kind of celebration dinner. And so basically there were like specific spots, like, you know, Progress Award, Attainment Award, Best in Maths Award, Best in, you know,
academics,
that kind of stuff. We deserved it, honestly. And if you were selected to go to Top Guns, it was a big deal, you know. Like I had one of my closest friends from primary school, she did not miss a Top Guns. So like she didn't know what it was like to not go to Top Guns.
Do you know what it was like?
I went to Top Guns a couple of times, not gonna lie, and it was lovely. I just remember this one time the main thing in going to Top Guns obviously was that the fact that you got like really fancy food. There was always onion rings, and they had like the Top Gun staple, if you will, was basically we'd have like wine glasses with like punch or something. Yeah, it was always punch actually. And on top of the like rims of the glass, they'd make like rainbow sugar, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And that was, imagine like as a child, that is so fascinating to you, and it's just like it's bottomless punch, and of course bottomless punch, and just like, yeah, the onion rings were good. It was chicken usually. It was good vibes. Like the lighting was low, you know, the teachers were all there to celebrate you and your academic achievements. It was really nice. But I also know what it's like to be a bottom gunner.
No, you guys, let's not call them bottom gunners. Let's just call them people who didn't take academics seriously. This is probably the wrong channel for me to be saying this. But like, I think, you know what, if I'm honest, I think it was the only thing where academics had the time to actually shine and had the time to actually be celebrated, you know, because sport took over everything.
That is so true.
So yeah, I think it was a good little event to actually celebrate and like highlight that academics also means something, because I'm not sure if it's most Zimbabwean schools, but sport really does take precedence over a lot of things. For example, I know this is off topic for the food, but for example, if you had academics, obviously you have school on a Friday, right? But if you have sport, you need to leave for your sport event. It doesn't matter if you have an exam or a test or something, like you need to get on the bus to go for your sporting event.
Absolutely.
The same thing on a Thursday afternoon, the same thing. Sport just really was top tier, you guys.
Yeah, it was. And I think also because like in defense of my primary school, I think they made good efforts to kind of like equalize everything, so like sports, culture and academics. On the culture side, we had concerts all the time. We had, you know, the musical morning, we had the
plays,
and it was important, you know. And then on the academic side, we had like speech day. What was it called? It wasn't called speech day. Prize giving, which was, you know, pretty much academic leaning. And then of course we had Top Guns, which was every beginning of term. So
was it?
Yeah, it was the beginning of second term and third term. Obviously not first term, because you just got into the grade, so how were they going to know?
How would they know? So yeah, speaking about Top Gun, so obviously Lamia experienced it, I did not. So I experienced not having to eat in the dining room, you guys. This was luxury.
So wait, why were you not in the dining room?
You guys, because the Top Gunners were now being prepared for, so the entire dining room was transformed.
And you know, it was so secretive. They would close the curtains and stuff, just that you couldn't really, you know what was going to happen with Top Guns. They really went all out. I
don't know if it was because they didn't want the Top Gunners to see, or they didn't want the bottom gunners to see. I still to this day, I'm like, I don't know what your plan was here, you guys, but no. From the little glimpses that we got, because, you know, sneaky, we would see like the little glasses that Lamia was talking about with the sugar on top, and we would see
the serviettes being folded in a certain way.
And I remember black tablecloths. I'm not sure if it was,
because they used to they had this like centerpiece thing with the little log looking thing.
Yes.
They love that,
like driftwood, you know. And then obviously the ambiance was like very dim, as Lamne
Yeah.
said, like low lighting.
Yeah.
So obviously for that reason we couldn't be in the dining room. So we were allowed to have hot dogs, let me tell you. We had hot dogs on our little paper plates. I think it was paper plates. And we were allowed to go into the quad. So as this was boarding school and, you know, discipline in Zimbabwe,
Yeah.
we weren't actually allowed on the grass
We weren't.
any other time.
Yeah.
So when we were allowed in this little quad on the grass, it was like, you guys,
Hard stepping, just making sure that you are
we
standing on that
have
grass.
made it. We literally walked. I remember walking every square foot of this little this little quad. And yeah, so we would sit there, we could talk to our friends, like it was a good time, you know. And then we weren't actually eating at the same time. I remember dinner was always earlier on those days.
It was, yeah.
And yeah, that was about it.
Yeah, I also used to feel so sad for like the matrons on these occasions because they never got to experience Top Guns either. And so whenever we'd complain, you know, about how hard life was because we were bottom gunners and not experiencing Top Guns, they'd be like, neither we. Like, I've never been to Top Guns myself because like they would have to, you know, continue with business as usual.
I didn't think of that.
Yeah.
That's true. But didn't they go like later?
No, because they had to be in hostel putting everyone to bed. The cool thing about Top Guns also was that, you know, it was exclusive. So you got to, you know, like Top Guns would end at about like 9, which you must know.
That's late.
That's
you guys.
late.
We had to be in bed by 7:38 latest if you were a senior. But now these elite kids are coming back at 9 p.m. you guys. No. Okay, we weren't sleeping like, but we would hear them coming and we needed to know all the stories.
Yeah.
What did you guys eat?
Yeah.
What did you get? Show us the menu. Also the menu.
Yes, because the menu would be designed. It would have your name at the top, and you know you get to take it home with you. And they really put so much effort. It was literally on black paper, and then it would be like a printed on top of the So my favorite meals at primary school were probably, we used to have this thing like egg curry. It was good. It really did slap. So it was like white rice and then it would be like a boiled egg. And then it would be like in like very flavorless tomato gravy. But it went hard. It was so good.
No, you're right.
It was good. It was really, I think we used to have that on like a Monday and it made Mondays a bit better. My favorite other thing was obviously the apple crumble that went hard. No, the milk tart went hard. And yeah, those were my favorite meals. My least favorite meals at primary school, it's probably got to be the boerewors and mashed potatoes.
The meat, you guys.
Just the meat period, And anything else? Oh, the cabbage, she's got to go. And that jelly also, she's also got to make her way out. and the juice, exit stage left. Ayaan, what were your favorite meals and least favorite meals in primary school?
I don't know. I think so. I am quite fussy when it comes to food, but I think because I was so sporty and I needed to eat something, I just swallowed. Like I just needed to eat something. So I think it just grew on me. I didn't enjoy the food, but I don't know if I had a favorite or a least favorite. I do remember the one time, you guys know, man. I was in grade 3. And I remember sitting at this table and like, please note, when you're in grade 3, like I'm tall, but like I just felt so small because there were all these grade 7s and grade 7s look huge. Like they look like they're college kids, you know?
Yeah.
And I remember sitting at this table and like, it was really intimidating because, you know, you're a little kid and like all these people have been there for so many years more than you. And like, there's just so many factors. So you're eating this food and already you don't eat this food. Like it's not normal to you. It's not familiar. And I do not know what it was, you guys. It was this water mixed with sugar, mixed with some tomatoey color. No, you guys, it was not food. It wasn't food. We never had it again. We had it one time.
Oh, they were doing trial and error and it failed.
You guys know, I remember just trying, because we couldn't waste food, like it was
we were not allowed.
You couldn't like just, you know, take your plate up or something. Obviously if you're friends with the head of table, they would just, cringe alert, like they would just like smash the food between the plates. But obviously, if you're a grade 3, you're not homies yet. You're not homies with these
Or,
top.
sometimes you'd have, like, really nice table monitors who just allow. And then sometimes if you were me and just, like, unlucky, you'd have table monitors who, were enjoying making your life difficult, yeah.
Yeah, so you would, like, I just felt like I couldn't waste the food. So I remember just eating it, but, like, you're, like, hurling, you're, like, ready to just throw up because it was just not edible. It was giving Oliver Twist, you guys.
It was giving Oliver Twist.
No, man. There was also, with that boerewors, we had peas.
Really?
Yeah, but there wasn't, like, nice fresh peas. It was, like, the tinned ones, and there's a taste. You guys are probably thinking, oh my god, you guys are so fussy. But no, you guys. It's because I'm boarding school.
For sure. I particularly struggled with the food, like something that my teachers remember till this day. Again, trigger warning, I literally would bring up every single morning.
Yeah.
That's not even an exaggeration. Literally, like clockwork, every morning at breakfast I'd bring up, and it was really the bane of my existence in, like, my formative years of primary school. Like, I hated boarding so much just because of the food. And then I ended up getting really sick and stuff. And I mean, you're probably thinking, like, what would happen if you didn't eat the food? Apart from being reprimanded, that was it. You would starve because we weren't allowed to have our own food.
Yeah.
Like, it was literally forbidden to have food of your own.
At all.
At all.
Like, including in hostel.
Not even a little, like, sweet. You were not allowed to have your own food. So it was always just really interesting going home on a Friday, and, like, our grandparents would always be like, why are you so thin? Like, please
skin and bone.
Yeah, you need to go and eat.
I do not eat beef. I cannot eat beef. Like, at home, at school, anywhere, I cannot eat beef. I'm learning slowly. You guys, I'm 25 years old now. Like, I still like, if I don't know where the meat came from, if I don't know the person who cooked it, like, no, I'm not gonna eat it.
That's true.
Chicken as well. I don't actually eat chicken, like roast chicken and stuff. Like, it needs to be chicken breast. Even then, I'm still fussy.
That's true.
So I'm basically vegetarian. I just don't want to put a label on it.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's just cabbage. I'll eat it now because my mum makes it really nicely.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's anything else. Oranges. No, you guys, I don't eat oranges.
Sweet corn.
Sweet corn. I actually eat sweet corn.
In the cream.
No. It's not. Ugh. Obviously, I needed to, like, just make do with what was there, and I needed to eat. Because obviously I couldn't go back to hostel and be like, oh, it's fine, I have wedges in hostel. Like, no, there was no sandwiches in hostel.
Yeah.
So there was this meal we had for breakfast, I think it was. It was spaghetti.
Oh no.
Spaghetti in a tin, but like in tomato sauce. And they would put it on toast. They wouldn't put it on the toast, but like they would put it on your plate, you know, but obviously you'd eat it with toast.
Yeah.
And like, if my mum gave me that, I would be like, do we not have money? Like, what's wrong? You know, like, is there something wrong? But at school, you guys, I chowed it down. Like, I just ate it. It was so good. Like, no salt, no pepper, nothing.
Yeah.
I don't think I'd eat it today, but I mean, it was one of those things where I learned to eat.
And you guys, like, I used to feel a little bit betrayed because there was one time where I was on the same table as Ayaan. And like Ayaan is saying, Ayaan is very much a person who will just get on with it. You know, she's very much one of those people who's like, the circumstances are not going to change. I just have to make do. I am not. I will complain. I will file more complaints. And then eventually, if nothing's being done, then I'll be like, okay, I just have to make do. But imagine seeing your sister, who you have been born and raised with in the same house, just getting on with it, just plowing through this food. And I'm looking at her like, why are you acting like this is normal right now? You know, and I just used to feel so betrayed, especially when she was enjoying, you know, the likes of these spaghettis and tomatoes. I was like, don't come and make like this is normal where we come from, you know?
You guys, it's slapped.
But yeah, I actually do remember, you might not remember, but I remember, like I was mentioning, like I really struggled with the food, and Ayaan used to actually help me sometimes. Because yeah, I would just be like, Ayaan, you need to eat this for me. And we had such an amazing...
Okay, did you hear that?
Yeah.
I didn't help her. She demanded.
Because, like, what was I supposed to do? Anyway, yeah, that's a story for my book, okay? Because the trauma I experienced with food and bringing up and having a monitor that would literally make my life even more difficult. I remember this one time we were having French toast, which I know sounds really luxurious and honestly was one of the better breakfast meals.
Because we had honey.
Yeah, it was
syrup.
syrup.
We had syrup.
Yeah, and the syrup was...
Let me tell you guys, sorry to cut you there.
No,
Like,
necessary.
we had syrup from a bottle, right? There was a difference. There was golden syrup and maple syrup. It's not...
Caramel syrup, I think.
Caramel. That's the one.
No.
Caramel syrup. You guys, no.
It had to be the
If your
golden.
table did not have golden syrup,
Right.
I'm so sorry, but you
That
were
is
not
so
a favorite.
That is so true.
Like, because not all tables would get the same.
Yes.
But obviously, if you had the golden syrup, your French toast would slap.
It would.
It was. So
I mean, it
good.
was really like oily though. Like, don't be thinking of like French toast that you'd get at like a brunch spot. No. It had little...
It was oil, you
It
guys.
was like oil strings and
Yeah.
so yeah, you just have to drench it in syrup to, you know, make it more bearable. But anyway, I was really struggling in my first year getting through this piece of French toast, and as luck would have it, I would always end up getting the biggest portions. Like, it was just so unfair.
Yeah, so
And-
let's talk about slices of bread. Slices of bread, you guys, back in the day were huge.
Yeah, because also like we're old. Like, there was no sliced bread, so I think they were manually slicing these. Yeah.
Yeah.
So-
and the bread cut up.
Yes, that is true. Yeah, so I would just get really unlucky and get really big portions. And if you wanted to like leave food, you had to actually go up to
ask for permission.
to ask for permission to leave food. And of course, like, you know, I had obviously used up all of my passes, if you will. You know, I had been up to the hatch, so the hatch we called it. This was where the staff used to sit on their long table with their bougie food. Like, they used to have better food than the rest of us.
Buffet style.
Buffet, yeah.
Like,
it was really that
and their whole
beetroot
big serving
salad.
bowls and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, you be thinking, wow, I really want to be a teacher someday.
Anyway, I remember going up to the hatch with my, this was when I was in grade 1, and my table monitor also happened to be my monitor in the hostel. And this will come up in a different episode, but sis didn't like me, and it was mutual. I didn't really like her either. And she just used to really make my life more difficult than it needed to be. And anyway, we went up to the hatch because obviously I have to go with the monitor, and you know, went and I was like, yo, I can't finish this food. Well, she spoke for me. She's like, Lam, I can't finish the food. So that's when the teachers, if they were feeling lenient, they would, like, you know, do the whole, you need to eat this part. So they did that because it was a good day. And anyway, you guys, how can we now, between the space of the hatch and coming back to table, how can she now start adding her own little bits into the you need to eat this right in front of me? And what could I really say? I was, you know, several years her junior, and I just found it so unfair. And she was just like, she proper gaslit me, and she was like, you need to eat that, that's what they said. And I was like really struggling, like it was so bad. Thank you guys so much for watching this video on our food experiences in boarding school and primary school. Be sure to catch the next episode where we discuss